Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here to prepare a tea for you and perhaps with you if you are tasting along, if you've gotten this tea and are watching afterwards, after you've made a purchase. You see I've scooped out enough tea. This is a oolong tea, by the way. We'll be talking about it a little bit more, but I scooped out enough to really cover the bottom of my 3-ounce gaiwan here. My water's been brought to an early boil and been cooling for about a minute. It's still got plenty of heat to it. You see I'm going to add enough water to allow a little bit to rest above the rim of my lid. Try to do this the same way with all the teas that I taste so that they get the kind of a consistent, fair treatment there. I'm going to put my lid on a little bit, riding just above the rim of the lid there. And now to talk about this tea, introduce it. This is from Teavivre. This is their monkey picked or MaLiuMieTGY. This is from a Taiwanese oolong. It is from the Lishan area of Taichung, the Taichung County area. And you can get a sample size. This is, of course, not the sample size package, but you can get a sample size of 14 grams for $2 US. And you can find out more information about this particular tea. The website will tell you the general date. The product page may tell you a date, like in this particular case, at the time of posting here. This was harvested back in May 10th of 2012. Looking at this package indicates just a couple days difference. May 13th was the harvest date, so probably not a big difference, but interesting to know that they go to that much detail. So I'm going to talk about this tea in the three main areas of the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor. Now this may be the size that you choose to order if you get a larger package. I'm going to reach down in here because this is the sample size that I received. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a sniff and talk about the dry leaf here. You get a lot. You get the kind of lightly toasty. I mean, there is a kind of a gentle honey roasted peanut kind of note, a little bit of a toasted oat type Cheerio note, and you still get a little bit of the woody type, some of the green there. It hasn't been oxidized, toasted, roasted as much as some, so you still has a bit of a almost kind of woody floral. And then this is the smells that I associate with something like English laurel. It's the sappy shrub with the yellow, the delicate white flowers that can be very fragrant in the late spring and summer. So that's kind of what I get here. Looking at these leaves, getting a few out on the spoon here. They're not the darkest of colors that I've seen, so indicating that they have not received that as much roasting that would make them so dark. You do get a kind of a brownish green, so they have some darkness to them, but they still have some of that greenness, like that green tinge I noted as well. They're smaller. These do not look to be multiple leaves, 2-3 leaves rolled together and balled together. So these look to be individual leaves, but we'll be able to tell more as they've unfurled after we've steeped and poured there. Quite small. Most of them, I'd say, less than 1/4 of an inch, and across the crumpled shape there. Yeah, that really gets into a lot. I don't see a lot of stem pieces. I see some vein from the way the leaf has been kind of turned and crumpled there. But that's really the key points to look at there. Let me set this down. Kind of move this out of the way actually as well, and angle my lid over to the side so I can get ready to pour. Using a clear pitcher here, which will help us to look at show off the liquor here. It's always helpful to have a pitcher, especially if you're going to serve more than one cup's worth there. So let that sit there for a moment. Let me kind of swirl that, get some of the steam off of the sides. be able to talk a little bit about this wet leaf. First off, I want to get some of the smell. I'm actually going to shake this, let some of these leaves kind of settle back down to the bottom. First off, got kind of toasty type notes, kind of a roasted peanut, heavily toasted oats, on the verge of, on the verge of eggs almost burned. I'm trying not to use that word because that sounds harsh. And this is not harsh. This is toasted oat on or caramel that's almost starting to burn. It's brown so much it's almost too much. That's kind of where you are. You got the sweet, you got the heat and the toasty element there. You especially get the honeyed aspect, the caramel, the roasted, the toasted honey type notes on the inside of the lid that stays there. But then you stick your nose down and you get more of the leaf smells there. So it's getting again more of that towards that woody component there, that woody shrub type component there. Now let me just kind of pull out a few of these leaves and see what's there. First off, one that was kind of loose sitting there on top, ragged, a little piece of another leaf stuck to it. Not intact, I would say that is in the neighborhood of 3/4 of the leaf there, but torn quite a bit. Let me press that to the side. Let me get out a couple of more here. Digging around, see if I can find anything. I mean, I'm getting a lot of these kind of ragged pieces. Here's one of those that was actually 2 leaves. Again, none of the leaves are, although they're still connected, they're not really, none of the leaves are intact. So there were 1, 2, 3 leaves, and it'll look like a bud or a tip perhaps there as well. More of the same. These leaves still fairly brittle as well. Oxidation, I'm not seeing heavy blotches. It's fairly consistent in color, still kind of a drab green type color with a bit of a yellowish brown kind of tinge over the whole area of the leaf, at least in that particular leaf. That holds true for most of what's in here. I think these represent what the overall cup or gaiwan has. Not a lot of oxidation visible, a lot of ragged, incomplete leaves there. Okay, so move on then to the liquor. Let me give that a swirl. Hold that up to the light, and it is, it's a nice kind of light honey, light caramel type color. It's got a bit of a yellow, over towards a brownish yellow type color. Some sweetness coming off. Again, that's more of like a honey roasted peanut, caramelly type sweetness coming off. Let's give it a pour and taste it now. Still good color, still nuts, fairly good brightness as I look down into the cup here. With a tea like this and leaves like this, you can often get that kind of honey toasty note, especially on the front, which this one has. Then that falls off relatively quickly, and you're left with this kind of thin, almost watery type texture and feel, with not much stickiness, not much brothiness to it. In this case, yes, it because of the way that this one was done, seasonality is a factor here. It's not that spring, summer, autumn always have those same components to them. This one brings out a bit more of the texture. It brings out, so it has more than just a wateriness to it. It does have a thicker feel, and it seems the longer I let the taste and the aftertaste build, it's tending to get a little bit stronger rather than fading off and tapering and disappearing. So those are positive notes. Let me give it another shot here. So it does have that honey roasted peanut component there from the very start. It travels. You can get it up into your nose. You can smell it. Then in the aftertaste, well, in the taste you have a fairly decent level of brothiness there. In the aftertaste, it's not harshly astringent or bitter. It builds this smoothness, this coating on especially the back half of my tongue is really feeling it right now, and underneath my tongue to a certain, underneath the back half of my tongue is also feeling it to a certain extent. Sweetness is building up in the back. Not so much. Some evaluate if the sweetness builds lower in the throat, that's better than building in the let's say around the jaw area. This one's up closer to the jaw area, and even maybe a little bit further, like I said, underneath the tongue, the back half of the tongue there. So, as looking at this tea, it's consistent. It states what it wants to say, doesn't go too far beyond that. So it's not the most extravagant, the most exhilarating of full tea experiences, but it's clear about what it wants and clear about what its intent is, and it holds to that, and it even builds on that. It doesn't try to get too flamboyant. So looking at this tea overall, I would probably give this one, a 91. It's got those nice components that once you recognize them and once you know that that's what you want, you can come back to it over and over again and expect to find that to be the case each time. Off-camera tastings, fairly consistent. I was able to steep this multiple, I did about 3 times and was able to get fairly consistent results. It didn't taper off. It didn't fall flat after the second steep or anything like that. So come back to Walker Tea Review to find those teas that will bring you those rounded, stable qualities that express what you're looking for.